Hello and good morning, my beautiful intuitive butterflies. Today is Monday, August the 8th, 2022. It's kind of a special day for me this year because this would have been my grandmother's 106th birthday had she survived. And by all accounts, if it hadn't been for tobacco and her having smoked herself into oblivion, she probably would still be alive. The things that we do to ourselves, right? And the things that we believe can't or won't harm us. So let's get started. We're going to start by lighting a candle. I already have my red candle burning purely because I love the scent of my red candle. But this week is bringing a few interesting energetic curveballs our way. So I wanted to make sure that we're using a white candle. So we're going to light the white candle. And as we do so, we're going to call in the East and the energies of the East. We're going to call in the energy of the Earth. We're going to call in the energies of the South and the element of fire. We're going to call in the energies of the West, the element of water. Call in the energies of the North, the element of air. We're going to bring it all together with the energy, and sometimes referred to as the element of spirit. We're going to do this by lighting our sage. We're going to smudge the computer and try and prevent any electromagnetic malfunctions. We're going to smudge each of the decks of cards that we're going to use today for our reading. And I'm going to smudge myself and send this smoke to each and every one of you. All right. So as I mentioned, if this seems a little bit all over the place, it's because there's a lot going on energetically this week. Yesterday, our friend, that big ball of fire up in the sky, sent a CME our way. This has the capacity to affect us anywhere from 1 to 3 days away from when it's ejected from the sun. CMEs can affect our sleep. They can affect our concentration level. They can affect our mood. The other thing that's happened in the last 24 hours, again, relates to that big ball of fire up in the sky. And that is, there was a solar storm that also came and hit Earth at the same time that our magnetic frequency did a shift. So all of this affects us, whether we want to admit it or not. And we also have a full moon coming up on Thursday. Full sturgeon moon is coming up. Again, the moon affects water, as does the sun, as do CMEs, as do solar storms. All of this has an effect on us because we're made up of water. And I'm sorry, ladies, but it affects you more than it affects men. And here's why. Women retain more water than men do. It's that simple. We just do. Physically, we have more water in our bodies than men do. I'm not sure if you've ever noticed, if you go to a beach or go to a swimming pool, have you ever noticed women lie on their backs and they just float in the water? And men try and do the same thing and they sink like a rock. There's two reasons for that. One, Men typically have more muscle mass than women, and muscle doesn't float as well as fat. And I'm not calling any of you fat. I'm just saying that the actual makeup of your skin and your body has a higher fat content than men. It doesn't mean that you're physically fat, don't get me wrong, because trust me, I float and I don't consider myself fat at all. But anyway, and the second reason that women float more easily than men is because we have a higher water content in our bodies. So, wrapping all of that up, we are going to be affected by all of these energies coming at us because the CME that was directed at Earth let go yesterday. It's anticipated to hit us around Wednesday. We have a full moon on Thursday, and not only is it a full moon, it's a full super moon. Supermoons tend to affect us on a whole other level because they are closer to the earth. There's more of that pull on the water systems of the earth. Yeah, I could go into a lot more detail, but that's not really the purpose of the video today. But I did want to give everyone the heads up of what to be watching for this week. Watch for your emotions to be maybe a little bit more raw than what you're used to. Watch for sleep disturbances. Sleep disturbances can manifest on either end of the scale. Sleep disturbances can either manifest themselves as insomnia and waking up numerous times during the night, or the other end of the scale, make us feel like we just want to sleep forever. Either way, this week calls for self-care, a lot of self-care. Self-care involves drinking purified water, not tap water that's filled with chemicals and purification agents. Try and get yourself or make yourself purified water this week. Ground yourself this week, whether that be going out for a walk, hugging a tree, picking up a couple handfuls of dirt and allowing that to flow through your fingers, walking barefoot on Mother Earth. All of these things are going to help you to connect to Mother Earth as all of these non-earthbound energies are pulling us in separate directions. Keep yourself grounded. Aches and pains can come up this week. Again, because the moon influences our bodies in a huge way, you've watched the way that the moon can change the tides. The moon does change the tides. So as such, the tides involve being pulled in and pushed out and so on. Our bodies are being pushed and pulled this week. So unusual aches and pains may come up. If you have access to a natural spring, go dip yourself into it. How about a stream or some running water, even if it's a little bit chilly? That can help to cleanse and clear and reground you as well. If you don't have access to either one of those two, but you have a bathtub, take a bath this week. But again, you want your water as pure as possible. If you are on municipal water and you have no other way to purify your water, run your bath ahead of time and run it hotter than you would normally run it. Two reasons for running it hotter. One, the hotter it is, the more it creates steam and it allows some of the chemicals that are in the water to off gas and dissipate. So you're going to want to have an open window and an open door, maybe even a fan running in there in order to push all of those chemicals and everything out. The second reason that you're running it a little bit hotter is because you're not going to get in it right away. You're going to let your bath sit for 10 to 15 minutes. This will allow some of the chemicals to off gas and go away. Then you can enter your bath. Add a couple of grounding herbs or some essential oils that make you feel really comfortable and grounded. Think grandma's apple pie. Think cinnamon type flavors, things that are really, really earthy to you. and have some of those scents. Cedar, you can, if you live in an area where cedar is grown, ask the plant permission and then take a few cedar clippings and put those in your bath. All very, very healing. Okay, so I'm going to leave all of that advice with you, and we're going to get on with our card readings. All right, so today we have in pile number 1, my old animal deck. This was one of the very first decks that I ever picked up in my entire life. Just to give you a sample, there is Frog on there. We have Hermit, the owl. We've got the Judgment card represented by a whale. So this will just give you an example. And the Deer, okay, which is the Page of Pentacles. This will give you an example of what pile number 1 looks like. So if you are drawn to this deck, you will be drawn to pile number 1 this week. The second deck that we're going to be pulling cards from this week comes from Kyle Gray, Angels and Ancestors. Okay, so this is going to be your pile number 2 this week. Pile number 3 is a deck that I don't often use. And in fact, I questioned why I was being called to use it today. And over, I just got told, use that one today. So this deck is by Diana Cooper, and it's the Archangel Animal deck. Okay, just to give you a small sampling. There's the eagle from this deck. There's the parrot from this deck. We're getting all of the winged ones coming up. Oh, and there's whale again. Isn't that interesting that we got whale twice in the samples? Okay, so yes, we do have 2 animal decks this week. They do have separate meanings on the cards. So take a moment, go within, collect your thoughts, and determine if you are called towards the traditional animal deck, if you're being called towards pile number 2, Angels and Ancestors, or if you're being called towards the Archangel Animal deck, which will be pile number 3. And let's begin. I'm just going to move pile number 2 and pile number 3 off to the side here so that I have a little bit more room to work. And let's get going. What kind of advice do the people that chose pile number 1 require this week? We're going to require 2 cards, one on the top, one on the bottom. One will be the guidance for the week, and one will be the shadow for the week. All right, so we do have our first card. All right. Beetle, the 7 of Cups. Necessary decisions for our goals. This is your card this week, my beautiful intuitive butterflies who selected pile number 1. Okay, so what does the beetle represent for us? Well, depending on the type of beetle, the majority of beetles prefer darkness. They prefer to go within. They burrow into trees, into the ground. We could even go there with the dung beetle that, buries itself and likes to push around balls of dung. Either way, beetles prefer to almost cocoon themselves. So what does that mean for all of us this week? Well, necessary decisions for goals, right? Part of the cocooning process, or part of the process of going into a dark place, involves really getting in touch with ourselves, really getting in touch with that which we desire on a deep level. I feel like for a lot of you, this isn't the first time that you've had this message in recent days and recent months, that the message of going within, getting really seriously clear on what it is that you want, and then actually going for it. So a lot of us are taught, ooh, law of attraction, sit back, relax, and visualize what you want. But the law of attraction and the art of manifestation isn't just about sitting around all day going, oh, this is what I want. Oh, this is what I want. No, you actually have to make decisions and take action. So yes, there's that going within period of time, but then there is the time for making decisions and actually taking action on them. Okay. And I think I've said this before. You can't just sit there and say, oh, I want my dream job. Oh, I want my dream job. You have to actually have a resume and send it out. Because if you're just sitting at home, how is your dream boss ever going to know that you actually even exist? You probably don't want to be meeting your dream boss in the bar on Friday night. Okay, that might be a good place to meet your next boyfriend, depending on how much alcohol you consume, but that's another whole story entirely. So, necessary decisions for goals. That's what the Beetle is all about for you guys this week. Changes are necessary, right? That's part of the manifestation process. If you don't have the life that you want, then changes are necessary, and changes require action. And that's what the message of the Beetle is for you this week. What else can we say about the Beetle? Beetles have a harder shell, meaning there's a level of protection or a layer of protection around the beetle. And so in addition to making those decisions and starting to take some action from your kind of dark place right now, from your cocoon, know that you have some form of protection around you, kind of a hard shell around you right now. For those of you perhaps looking for a partner or looking for a new job, that layer of protection is conceptualized as sort of a veil that's around you that helps to protect you from the rejections that you may have had in the past. Right? When someone says no to us, it's a rejection and it hurts. But you know what? If there's a veil of protection around us, we can allow that to just kind of bounce off and move forward and continue on our path, continue on our vision. So what do we have as the shadow? So this is going to be this one. What do we have for the shadow? Moose, home, birth, and primal mother. All right. So this week, for those of you that chose pile number 1, your message here is to start to take the steps that are necessary to move towards your goals, to come out of that dark space, that cocoon, to come out of the ground. Remember what I said right from the beginning, beetles have a tendency to seek out those dark places, those cocoon type places, whether it be in trees or in the ground. This is on the bottom of the deck, showing that one of the things that you have been doing, those of you who chose pile number 1, is you guys have been cocooning yourselves. You guys are sitting in a place of absolute comfort. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that for a period of time. Trust me, there's absolutely nothing wrong with going within and looking for that home mother place, looking for that comfort. But right now, this is your shadow. This means that it's time to come out of that place. You've sat in that place for long enough, and the beetle is coming out and telling you it's time to make decisions and take action. The beetle's also telling you that you're protected while you do this. And that's not to say that you can't go back home to mother. That's not saying that you can't go home to that warm, comforting kind of blanket that our homes are for us. But what it is telling you right now is that you are using that warm, comfortable, homey place to hide away, right? It's in the shadows. You are hiding something from the world. You're hiding your gifts from the world. It's time to bring them out. So I'm going to leave that with you, and we're going to move on to pile number 2. My beautiful intuitive butterflies who chose pile number 2. All right, the Kyle Gray cards, angels and ancestors, what message do you have for the individuals who chose pile number 2 this week? We need 2 cards, one from the top, that will be the message of the week, and the bottom card will be the shadow. All right. I don't want to shuffle all day, so show me the card, please. Okay. We have a single card here. It bent backwards in my hand, so we're going to use that one as your message this week. Pile number 2, the Mirror Guardian. Take time to reflect. Okay. So this card is actually pretty much the opposite of the message that those who chose pile number 1 got. Those who chose pile number 1 are being told it's time to start making some decisions and coming out of sort of a dark, shadowy place. This card, for those of you who chose pile number 2, is a call to reflect, which is a call towards going within. Just put something away here. It's a call towards going within. The other thing that this card is bringing up for me to tell all of you this week is watch for your shadows. I feel like for some of you, there's going to be new energies, new people being brought into your realm. And the message that's coming up for me with this card for you guys is that everyone comes into our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And every person that comes into our life is a mirror. Do you know how when you meet someone new, you immediately like them or you dislike them? Right? You're picking up on their energies. You're picking up on the mirror that they are to you. So if that person is mirroring your shadows back to you, chances are they have a more important lesson to teach you than the people that you're immediately drawn to. The reason being is they are reflecting back to you what you like to keep hidden from the world. And that's why there's that immediate wall of, oh, I'm not sure I like that person. That person rubs me the wrong way. Really, really explore that this week. Those of you who chose pile number 2, really, really explore your shadows. Take time to look at your shadows. Take time to explore what aspects of myself do I dislike that I am desperately trying to hide from the world and that person might end up exposing. That's the message of this card. Really, really reflect. Reflect on who you are. Reflect on the masks you wear and who you put out to the world. And reflect on who you're hiding. You know, we all wear masks. Let's face it. But some of what we decide to hide from the world can really create strife and shame within ourselves. But shadow work, taking time to reflect, is all about shining a light on a shadow. And as you know, when you shine a light on a shadow, it disappears. So this week, those of you that have pile number 2, it's all about shadow work. It's all about reflecting. It's all about exploring the masks that we wear. And your shadow this week, I know that sounds like you already have shadows this week, but your shadow this week is trust your talents in changing time, the spirit fox. Okay. So what is the overall message for you this week? Those of you that picked pile number 2. The overall message for you this week is that as you're reflecting on your shadows and you're really, really exploring the masks that you wear, for lack of a better way of looking at it, when we're doing that kind of work, it's hard to trust ourselves. Why would we trust ourselves? When we look at the masks that we've been wearing, when we look at what we've been putting out to the rest of the world, we may not like what we see. And when we don't like the person that we've become, do we trust ourselves? We don't trust other people that we don't like. So why would we trust ourselves when we're in a position of, oh, I have shadows. Oh, I've been wearing masks and I don't like the mask I've been putting out there to the world. I need to be more authentic, right? That's the real message of this week, is you need to be really authentic. But when you realize that you haven't been being authentic, have you been trusting yourself? Probably not. So that's your shadow this week. Your shadow this week is to pay attention to whether you've been trusting yourself or not. And if you haven't been trusting yourself, it's all about going back to taking that time to reflect. Who am I? Because when we're really authentic with ourselves, we're able to trust ourselves fully and completely. But when we're wearing our masks, it's hard to trust. All right, so that's the message for those of you who selected pile number 2 this week. And moving on to pile number 3, those of you that selected pile number 3. Okay, like I said, I don't normally work with these cards, so this could be a little bit interesting. Let's see what comes up for us. We need 1 card for this week. And there we go. See, we've got the 1 card and it bent backwards and it's the soul card left. So the message this week for those of you who selected pile number 3 is the dog. Be disciplined in your home and your community life. Okay. Dogs are one of the most loyal creatures on the planet when you treat them right. Actually, come to think of it, even when you treat them wrong, for whatever reason, dogs are loyal to their masters. But part of that loyalty comes from discipline. This message this week is it's about chasing after your goals. It's similar to the message from pile number 1. You know, dogs do chase after their goals. They are loyal to their masters. But they're also disciplined in what they do. Let's see, what else are we picking up? The dog also represents loyalty to their master, their family, protecting their family. One of the things that's just coming up to me intuitively right now is the protective mama energy is coming up this week. The same way that a dog protects its master, a mama bear will protect its cubs. And so I do feel like there is this energy of wanting to exude protection over family and friends right now this week. But in so doing, there's a discipline that's necessary, right? We don't want to go out there and be that crazy, over the top person yelling at someone in a store that then gets videotaped and goes viral. We don't want to be those people. But we still want to have that loyalty and that protectionism for our families this week. And in order to have that, we need some discipline in our lives. There's the aspect of going out and getting what you want as well with this card this week, with the dog card, right? You think about a dog chasing a ball or a stick. They get so focused on that, right? They chase after what they want. They want that ball, they want that stick, whatever it happens to be, and they go for it. So that is the other message. But in order to be able to do that, there has to be some discipline involved. You can't just do what a dog does and go running and jumping off the end of a dock or off the end of a boat because somebody threw a ball over there, right? You need to have the discipline to know when to jump and run after that ball and when it's time to step back. I want to bring up the discipline that's also required for spiritual practice. And I think that that's going to be important for some of you this week. I think this message will resonate with some of you, and that is, in order to have a spiritual practice, whether that practice is a dedication to meditation every day, or to a yoga practice, or to going out and earthing every day and walking in your bare feet on Mother Earth, whatever your spiritual practice is, it requires discipline. The same way it requires discipline when you go into mama bear mode, right? In the same way it requires discipline if someone offers you $1 million, but there may be some consequences. Think of the movie from a number of years ago, An Indecent Proposal. That came to mind. I'm not sure why that came to mind, but anyway, it did. So if something seems too good to be true this week, use your discipline. Look at it. Is it an indecent proposal? If you're seeming a little wonky and flaky on your spiritual path this week, use some discipline, get back on your path. And this one, because of the CME, the solar storms, and the full moon this week, if you're feeling like a protective mama bear this week, use your discipline. There's nothing wrong with protecting your family, but don't end up being one of those people that ends up as a viral YouTube going completely ballistic and going off on someone, right? That's the discipline that you're going to need this week. What is your shadow this week? The parrot. Listen intently to be understood. Right. So this card plays right into that discipline of not going off and becoming the crazy lady in the viral video who was trying to protect her family, right? Listen intently before you step out and take action, right? And that's what discipline is all about. Okay, so for this card, I mentioned sort of 3 different scenarios when the discipline is going to be important this week. This card is about listening to that message of discipline. And the reason this came up in the shadow position of your reading is because in the mama bear protectionism scenario, do we listen before we take action when we're protecting our family members? Probably not. If we are not practicing our spiritual regimen for the week, that which we have promised to ourselves that we are going to fulfill this week, if we are not doing that, are we listening to ourselves, to our body, to our minds, to our spirits, to our spirit guides? Are we listening? No, we're not. So this is the shadow this week. If we leap before thinking to that indecent proposal, that job offer that seems too good to be true, are we listening? Probably not. That's why this card came up in your shadow position this week for those of you that picked pile number 3. What do we need to do with our shadows? We need to shine light on them. And shining light on this shadow this week for those of you that had pile number 3 means listening before you take action. So I'm going to wrap it up. That was a really long session today. I hope that I haven't rambled on too much. I hope that you've enjoyed this. Thank you so much. I do have openings this week for those of you that feel that you need more clarity, a more personalized reading. For those of you that feel that you need some more support to get through this week with all of these energies that are being thrown at us, by all means, please reach out to me personally, Marnie at intuitivebutterfly.com. My email address is all over my website as well, which is intuitivebutterfly.com. And please join me again next week. Do yourselves a favor, ground yourselves a lot on Wednesday night, Thursday night, and in through Friday. Do some earthing. And if you get the chance on Thursday night, have a look up at that big, beautiful sturgeon moon. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me.